Gotcha. Yeah, man. So me and John have been talking about over the last 6 years. He's kind of been my mentor on a lot of film stuff since we had our first interaction, and recently we started talking about a lot of this AI news, and I kind of wanted to bring that up and kind of get your opinion on it because I feel like it's important, especially in the independent world, uh, for us to talk about this kind of stuff and kind of get in front of it. So I
Yes.
just kind of, I know you have a very strong opinion on it. Is there anything you would like to say about it? If
Ye-
you've got an audience here.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, like super interesting point of conversation at this point, and has everybody in the industry talking and at every level, from a writing perspective, clear to sales and distribution. So the developments in AI do affect filmmaking. Um, every step of the way, every step of the process. And it has a lot of people, kind of running scared, feeling like, this is the end of Hollywood as we know it. And inevitably, it is going to create changes, it's going to create dramatic changes.
Yeah.
As technology does. I mean, we've been seeing dramatic changes in the business of filmmaking now for the last 20, 25 years. Like everything was very similar until it went digital. And once it went digital, like you just started to drop crew members and personnel like crazy because you were able to do more and more and more with digital technology at every step along the way, including communication. So this is kind of like a similar beat in that story, just maybe a more dramatic one. But I'm really not that worried about it. The thing that I find myself kind of realizing is the truth that like AI can only produce content. Like
Right.
it cannot produce art. It cannot truly produce film. Because it's incapable of producing art. It lacks the inherent qualities that define art. It doesn't have emotion. It doesn't have the human experience, the unique perspective, true collaboration and intent that's affected by those elements that make something a work of art. So, I do think that like we'll be able to hold fast to the importance, the sanctity of art and film, cinema, writing, everything because of that. I think the real danger comes in just a bit of like the lack of education from an audience as far as not being able to differentiate between content and art and being supplemented with content. And I think that that's the danger because there are a lot of
Yeah.
people out there that just don't have the knowledge to see the difference and really understand it. And if they like what they're watching and it takes their mind off things, like that could appease them. And I think that that's kind of the biggest threat. So I do think conversations like this are really important.
Yeah. I do think that from like a marketing perspective, that's going to be something that, if you say, I guess in this fast-paced CGI AI world, like Oppenheimer, for example, right? They didn't use CGI from what I understand, the way they marketed it anyways, they made it seem like it was all just like practical effects, the way they shot everything. And if that's the case, I mean, I hope that's true. If filmmakers can make that known to people, people are very fascinated by that because it's like, how did they create this? And that is art. So I think in some respects, that's going to be a good thing for filmmakers. Potentially,
Absolutely.
I hope.
No, I think you're right. And I mean, look, like, what's the value of good art? Like, what's the value of good film? Like, it's the honesty, it's your ability to authentically capture snapshots of the human experience, the human condition that we all relate to. So, there are a lot of filmmakers out there that kind of try to lean out of the CGI and lean out of like the post VFX already just to really like lean into the authentic, honest
Yeah.
human experience and the art, the trade, the craft, the skill that each of these people bring to it, because that is where the magic really can happen. And so I think that that's another saving grace too. If anything, we might see a little bit more of like a divergence in story types to where there are going to be people that lean more into natural storytelling and trying to capture authentic reality, and people that are going to go more into digital creation. And for
Yeah.
me, like personally, once with this big AI push, it's challenged me more than ever to it's made me want to lean that much more into doing everything practically, like doing everything naturally and capturing as much realism as I can, regardless of how spectacular the story is, because I do
Yeah.
think that's where it gets really interesting, you know?
Yeah, yeah, we kind of talked about that with the movie that you're working on right now. I was kind of asking those questions, like, how do you plan on doing this? And I'm kind of curious on some of the stuff from Animal Among Us. We'll get into that here in a second. We're gonna move on. I'm super excited for you, John, and I'm super excited for your future in cinema. We got to get going.